Yeah.
No going to certain sites, Greg.
Okay.
I could.
No going to certain sites. You're on video.
The computer.
No, it's okay.
Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together. This is big things. Doing big things. Chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real. This life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream. All the dudes yell. This is just what I do and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell, but homie, keep going. You know the saying, you can reap what you sow in. So I don't chase girls, I just chase dreams. Play the same game, but we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap, never. Going hard as ever.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Oz Digital Studio, where we film the Shrimp Tank down here in Boca Raton, Florida, in collaboration with the FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we get to interview the best and brightest entrepreneurs from South Florida, find the do's and don'ts of running a business, of course. Get an MBA in college, of course, but again, you need some street smarts and learning from all these business owners that have grinded through their business to the top, of course. And we get to listen to so many different types of entrepreneurs every single week. So this week we have Greg Sugar, my co-host on the show. Greg, how's everything going? Start things off. Last time you were in here, we were with Cr8, right? And what happened? You know a lot about that backstory. He exited, and now I know he's in the news recently.
I read that he bought it back. I don't know if he had financial backing, if he had a private equity partner, but yeah, I think he bought it back based on a newsletter I read, but I haven't reached out to him or anything.
That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what he sold his company for originally. I think it was doing $100 million of revenue. But let's say, just for argument's sake, he walked away $30 million, right? And all of a sudden, 3-4 years later, he comes back and buys it back for $7 to $10 million. And then if he scales it again, he could sell it again for, X amount, which is just, it's
good deal.
phenomenal.
That is not an uncommon story in the world of selling your business to private equity who screws it up.
Do you have a lot of friends, Greg, that I know you're part of a lot of entrepreneurship programs down in South Florida and across the United States. You see that commonly with some friends?
Yeah, I mean, even myself, it happened to on the company I exited. I ended up not buying it, but I had a situation present itself very similarly. But yes, it is not uncommon at all for people to exit their company, have the new owners botch it, and the old owners come in and buy it up cheap and rebuild it.
What are the common reasons why they botch it? Do you know?
Sure.
Stats?
I know exactly what they are, unfortunately. New owners know everything. They don't need you anymore. They figured it all out before you even closed your business. And the transition goes poorly, and they don't follow any strategies that used to work. A lot of times they try to not just rebrand, but really sort of take away all of the special sauce that made that company bigger and why they wanted to buy it in the first place. So it's a little ironic that they wanted to buy something with special sauce. They buy it, and then they toss the special sauce in the garbage. But anyway.
And I think the founder themselves, the connections, the ties, how many customers or clients do business with them because of that individual at the end of the day. That's a huge part. Yeah. And I think lots of times they turn their back on that person saying, oh, we don't need it. And then the customers realize real quick, okay, we're just another number, on a spreadsheet, and they don't feel welcome. They jump to another brand. Anything we should know about what's happening at FAU these days, Greg? Boot camps, Tech Runway. I think Tech Runway just opened up a second group. I know they don't do that often, right? Usually it's one group, 20 to 25 people. So I'm part of that group.
Okay.
But now I just saw they're welcoming a new class because there's so many mentors down here that want to provide advice, and there's also so many businesses starting. So they figure, why not start a new chapter? And I guess the ones that fall out of the first group, sometimes it's like 20 go down to 12. So it's a good opportunity. Add another group mid-year.
Yeah, and what would be great is Tech Runway needs more mentors that are current and have current experience, not just people who have retired or sold their business. So if you're an active business owner now and you want to help some growing entrepreneurs who have their own businesses, they're not just thoughts in their brain, but they're actually real companies, give Tech Runway a call, let them know you want to be a mentor, and I'm sure we can set something up.
That's a great point. Absolutely. Well, let's get into our episode today. If this is your first time tuning in, you catch it live at Shrimp Tank Boca on Facebook. And then, of course, we do clips every week on our Instagram account. So today we got Jonathan Fields, Nadav Fields, and they are the founders of Cr8 Health that recently opened up. They also have another location, so this is not their first rodeo. And they also have, a long medical background. I was looking at their bio. You know, it's hard these days, you know, to overcome all the different exams that you have to take and all the different, you know, struggles of going to one state then another state to be a medical professional today. And I know that a lot of folks, you know, in their 20s are struggling because they're like, should I go 10, 14 years to get to that path? And you guys, of course, are young professionals that have done it and now turning the corner being entrepreneurs. So, Jonathan, let's kick things off. Let's talk about Cr8 Health. What is it all about?
Yeah, absolutely. We are a anti-aging and wellness clinic where we're doing hormones, peptides, physician-assisted weight loss, acupuncture, functional medicine, laser hair removal, skin tightening, everything from Botox and fillers to serious health problems when it comes to menopausal stuff, to pain, all that kind of stuff.
Me and Greg are looking at each other like we're going to be there for the next 4 months to get
Come
this
on down.
done.
We'll take care of
I
you
even have
guys.
menopausal problems. So it's perfect.
I can tell your estrogen looks a little high.
So, what are the most common things people start with, I guess?
So it really depends. I mean, being that we offer so many different varieties, my brother's actually an internal medicine doctor. He spent over about 10 years working in hospitals. He also is board certified in obesity medicine. So part of a big thing of what we do is medical weight loss, physician assisted. So for people who have already tried everything and nothing seems to work for them, they've done the diets, they've done the exercise, and nothing seems to work, then they come down, they get to work with an actual board-certified doctor, not some guy who took a weekend seminar and is selling you the latest little fad. Some of it is medication-assisted. Some of it is we give diets. We give that whole plan. And then on the other side, I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Eastern medicine, so I deal with a lot of, and functional medicine, so I deal with a lot of chronic health issues, stuff from autoimmune issues, arthritis, pain in the joints. I deal with a lot of digestive issues. And then we have a PA that works on all the skin stuff, the anti-aging stuff. You know, it's a perfect fit for the Boca crowd.
So walk us through, you know, Greg and I show up, you know, on our first visit. Are we taking a blood exam? Are we filling out surveys? Like, kind of walk us through the process.
It's a good question. So if you're coming in for the first time and you're not sure exactly what you're there for, what you'll do is you'll sit down and have a consultation with one of the professionals. And we'll sit you down. The consults are free. We sit down for a few minutes and figure out what your goals are and what you need. And then based on that, we'll put you with the right person. It might be with Dr. Nadav, or it might be with myself, or it might be with the PA. There is some paperwork to do. We do have, depending on what it is you're coming for, and some of the paperwork will ask you about the goals, medical history, background, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll lead you in the right direction. Yes, we do blood work in-house. So even if you just want like your regular old annual blood work and you don't feel like going to the doctor and then getting sent somewhere else and then waiting for an hour in a stinky lobby and then going back to the doctor to get it, we can do all that in-house. We have a phlebotomist and an IV tech. So we do the IV therapy as well, and we do the draws in-house. We get the results within a day or two. So it's a lot more convenient for some people than going to sit and, you know, wait with 100 people that are coughing all over you.
And where are your locations?
We are right off of Glades and Boca del Rio. So it's right Glades and Turnpike in that plaza with the Greenwise and Home Goods. And then we have another location down in Tamarack.
I have a lot of questions, but I want them to finish. I mean, we're not done talking about their business, are we?
No. We're in the beginning parts of it. So let's talk about the blood results for a second, because so often we get our annual physical, the doctors have a gazillion, you know, patients, and they're like, you're in and you're out, right? And you're left with trying to figure it out on your own often. They tell you, oh, go on the Mediterranean diet. That's what my doctor tells me every single year, right? I always have a little bit high cholesterol. I'm not on medication for it, but I'm always on that edge. And he's like, you're going to be if you don't start, you know, eating healthier. And then, of course, I'm a father too, right? I don't get enough sleep. I work too much as an entrepreneur. You know, a lot of people in their 30s and 40s are guilty of that, right? And we try to be good, but then we're always eating the chicken nuggets, you know, from McDonald's from our children, right? So, you know, sometimes we know that that's the thing, but sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes when you do go on a diet, right, you lose 10 pounds, but then you gain 5 back, and it's a continuous circle because all of our bodies are different, right? I know if I touch bread or pasta, I'm done, right? 5 pounds later that night, like it's that easy. Or alcohol, right? It just doesn't do well with me over time if I drink for a few days. So I guess, you know, how do our body types really, you know, matter, you know, when you take that blood test, and then kind of speak about hormone therapy, because I have had some past guests speak about that in depth, and almost it starts there. It sounds like, because someone just might need that therapy to kick things off the correct direction, and they're doing everything else right, and just nothing else is happening, I guess.
Correct. I'll have Nadav start that off, and then I'll finish it up. But he's the hormone therapy specialist and the medical weight loss guy, and I'll give you my take on the blood work after he's done.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's those are complex questions, but one size does not fit all, right? Everyone is different. Every individual has a different level of, you could say, in our world, metabolic flexibility. People process just in terms of their metabolism is different. Everyone has a different microbiome, which is huge in the weight loss world at this time. Everyone has a different genetic makeup. And everyone's lifestyle is different. You as an entrepreneur, you're under different stressors, and because of those external forces and also your lifestyle, it may be different than somebody, for example, that shows up to the bank from 9 to 5, 8 to 5 every day. So you have to take into account a lot of different things when recommending a diet and a lifestyle. Number two, I really don't like calling them diets. It's more lifestyle. You have to make meaningful lifestyle changes. But if someone comes in and they want to shed, I would say the average weight loss our clients or patients are looking to shed is about 20 to 25 to 35 pounds. We do put them on a diet. Typically, it's calorie restrictive diet. We could talk more about that later if you'd like. But after they achieve those results, then we recalculate their metabolic demands, their total daily energy expenditure, and then we put them on a lifestyle. This is your sustainable lifestyle to keep the weight that you're at after you've reached your goal. And then when you start talking about, some intermittent fasting, I do intermittent fasting every day. I was never a breakfast person, and I will never be a breakfast person. Some people love breakfast.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah. So intermittent fasting is great for some individuals that can skip breakfast, and it is really good with a lot of the medication that's one of the hot medications on the market, semaglutide, sold under the brand name Wegovy. That diet with that medication and pre-diabetics and people that are on the cusp of having metabolic syndrome is a great diet to help them facilitate and increase insulin sensitivity. But, you can recommend that diet to a lot of people, but some lifestyles they don't vibe well with that diet. So, you hear a lot about ketogenic diets. You hear a lot about, just very low calorie diets, the HCG programs, which I don't particularly like. Every person, you have to really take a long time to sit down with them, get into their head, see what the triggers are, what their past experiences are, to recommend a diet that's conducive for them to losing weight. So it's a process that you first sit down with them. You go into, like I said, you discuss their history, their lifestyle, the people around them. A lot of times their spouses are contributing to this.
I agree, because we have so many people we work with, and,
Correct.
and then family, and everyone says their way is the right way.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen this before where I'm not a breakfast person.
Correct.
And some people are like, you got to eat breakfast. You got to eat breakfast. I'm like, no.
Well, yeah, I saw
had
it
a
on
keto
I
expert
saw it on
on.
this TV show, and they told me I got to do this, and it's like,
Yeah.
I have a question about the medication. My mother years ago was part of that fen-phen generation. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
That medicine that got recalled, and there was a bunch. I haven't heard of FDA-approved medicine that helps weight loss. Not that I read newsletters on this, but I'd like to. Is there something now that's sort of like the new fen-phen, or something that's more about stimulant, or what's suppressant? Is that the right word?
Appetite suppressant.
Appetite
Yeah,
suppressant.
I mean, there's a handful of actually FDA-approved weight loss medications. Fen-phen was old. It caused cardiac issues. It was taken off the market. The most commonly prescribed FDA-approved medication is phentermine. It's approved for 3 months, FDA approved, but a lot of weight loss physicians and people in the industry do use it off-label for longer than 3 months. Phentermine is great. It's an oral tablet taken once or twice daily. It's got great appetite suppressant effects. There are some contraindications to that, like all medications. Yeah, there's Cr8 also. It's a combination of two different molecules. And then the hottest new medication on the market is semaglutide. You may see a lot of commercials for it. It's under the brand name Wegovy. In 2017, it was FDA approved. It's been used as a type 2 diabetes medication. So since 2017, patients with type 2 diabetes have been taking Ozempic, that's the brand name for the semaglutide, for diabetes. But they were seeing substantial weight loss with patients taking Ozempic for diabetes. So then it went into clinical trials by the drug manufacturer. And in 2021, so last year, the medication was FDA approved under the brand name Wegovy for the treatment of medical weight loss.
Very effective.
For obesity, for those people that meet criteria, which is with a BMI of 27, over 27, with some comorbidities, or for those with a BMI over 30. So this is the hottest new medication on the market right now for medical weight loss, semaglutide, Wegovy, and it was FDA approved last year.
I want to hop back, if we can, for a second for the blood work, what we brought up, because that's actually one of the reasons we do what we do and why we started working independently. And one of the reasons he's been trying to go into private practice and get out of the hospital is because nobody likes being treated like that. When you go to the doctor, you might wait a month or two to get an appointment, or if it's a specialist, maybe it's 2 to 3 months, and you sit there, you wait for an hour and a half, and then you're in and out in 2 minutes, and you have no idea what's going on. So one of the things we do is we make sure to spend more time with the patients, make sure people are comfortable, make sure all their questions are heard and understood. And when I work with people on the functional medicine side, that's specifically what we specialize in, is taking the blood work, looking at the blood work, and we look for patterns in the blood work. Sometimes the doctor, you go in, you have a list of complaints, your blood work's fine, see you in another year. And it's like, I don't feel fine, I feel terrible, right? So what we do is we go through and we look to see if there's any patterns, if there's any things that are borderline. Because generally the doctor's looking for anything that's red flags. They're looking for emergencies. Like, do I need to send you to the hospital? Do I need to put you on some drugs? And even sometimes you are on medications, but you still don't feel good. So we work specifically with that, and we get people the right sometimes vitamins, nutrients, diet, lifestyle advice to help them and to help them understand the blood work. So if somebody has inconsistencies of their blood work, usually after dealing with them, we'll put together a report saying this part of the blood work means this means this. And if you have any more questions, we'll go over that in a follow-up visit rather than oh, nice to see you, here's your script, out the door, right? Because that is one of the biggest frustrations, and that's one of the biggest problems in our medical system. And that's kind of what we're looking to change.
I completely agree, because often we've been there as parents with young children, and I know my kids are a little older today, but I remember when my second was born, I just was like, I am always tired, right? They're always waking up. I mean, of course, they're waking up throughout the middle of the night. You're working long hours. It's a stressful environment. You fight more with your spouse, of course, during those times because you're always on edge,
right.
And you're eating like crap, of course, more commonly. You go to little children's birthday parties, and you go to the doctor, like, your blood work looks great. And you're like, no, there's something. I'm like, send me to a specialist. Something's off. But thankfully, it's a short period of your life when that is going on, when the kids are not sleeping. But I completely agree. Sometimes you want more information as a customer or client to go in and say, hey, I feel like I'm different than the next person over. Like, why am I being treated the same, right? We all consume foods differently and have different effects. Same thing from stuff even like coffee with caffeine. And energy drinks, for example. So let's jump into the business for a second.
Cool.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of people in the medical field that want to know, how did you pull this off, right? So many people want to be entrepreneurs today. They want more control. They want more passion behind, what they do, waking up every single day. And a lot of big hospitals, are ran by, big Fortune 500 companies today.
Right.
And it's so political, and people are getting frustrated with it, and they want to do what you've done. So let's start with, how did you pull off that first office? Where did you do your research? Approximately how much did it cost? How did you hire people? Kind of go through the nuts and bolts of it.
So the first place is a lot different than this place we just opened. The first place, I started off very slowly. I actually started off out of school, actually working in a closet at a physical therapy facility that my mother's been at for 20 years. Built up some business there. They gave me literally a closet. I cleaned out a storage closet, started seeing patients there, and you're talking about a place where the carpet is run down, the chairs got tape holding them together. It was mostly for seniors, so they didn't really care. Once I got enough business there, I went in with a friend of mine who has a vitamin store, right? So there's some synergy there between the holistic stuff that we do and what they did. And he gave me a space. And once again, this was in a place where they had a vitamin store in the front, and then they had a trophy store in the middle where they're actually cutting and making trophies. And I had a room in the back. And you know, the bathroom looked like a gas station, and there was water coming in from under the wall from the pizza place next door. And then when I had built the clientele enough and the business enough, then we got a nice new facility. It wasn't too bad. That is in Tamarack, so it's not like a high-end area like Boca place. So, and I had split it with another person. We basically rent the space, so we're both on the lease. It might have cost maybe 30, 40K to open up and get started when we were there. Slowly, and I kind of built everything from word of mouth. I grew up and lived in the community, so we did a lot of social. Most of my marketing was actually from my personal social, not from our pages that we were talking about earlier. Aren't getting the kind of traffic that people really think that they do, right? Because the algorithm's being hid from everybody. So that took time, and that kind of developed, and it's still growing. After a year or two, I got my first employee. I think we have five or six people over there right now. And then this new place was Nadav's baby and a brainstorm child. So why don't you give them a little information about how we got the new place open?
Yeah, so I've been working in the hospital for about 10 years. I'm a hospitalist, internal.
And which hospital?
So I work at multiple hospitals. I work for the Broward Health System. So I sometimes work at Coral Springs Medical Center, Broward Health Imperial Point. I work at Holy Cross Health in Fort Lauderdale. And then I'm also part of the Memorial Healthcare System. So I work at the main.
And he does telehealth.
Yeah. Memorial.
And owns a clinic.
Memorial Regional in Hollywood. And then I work at the ones in Pembroke Pines as well. I've been working there for quite some time. Prior to moving back to South Florida 2 years ago, I was living in Nashville for 5 years, working for the flagship hospital for HCA, Centennial Medical Center. But I've always had this vision of opening up my own clinic, and the hospital system really beats you down. It's our healthcare system, and what you see in the hospital is pretty mind blowing. It's basically a revolving door. There's a saying in healthcare: 15% of the people take up 85% of the resources. So between healthcare, the healthcare disparities, social inequities, non-compliance, you see a lot of the same people, and they're consuming a lot of the resources. I myself have always had a passion for preventative health, and that was kind of what brought me to open this clinic, and that's my passion, and that translates with hormone optimization and obesity medicine. If you look at the stats, 70% of Americans are either or combined obese or overweight based on their BMI. How much does that contribute to the comorbidities that we see? Cardiovascular disease, strokes, diabetes, people on dialysis, which is a huge burden on the healthcare system.
I think you want a little more the business end. Yeah. How do we get into opening the business?
That's profound. So that kind of catapulted me into opening the business. Now, opening the business, my wife, we've been together for a couple years. The last year, it's been really, really stressful. I can't tell you. People think, they see how lucrative it may seem opening up med spas and concierge clinic. It's a lot. It's thousands of hours and a lot of mistakes I've made. It's a steep learning curve. I just kind of You know, I spoke to one of my friends who's an entrepreneur in LA. He's in the hospitality business. He gave me great advice. He said, speak to as many people as you can. And I literally would just, you know, how many marketing companies we
A lot. We must have gone
Yeah.
through 20 different marketing companies.
PR companies, marketing companies, business owners. I would just reach out, and some of them probably didn't like me because I would take up an hour plus of their time, you know, just
They're used to it. That's their job.
asking them so many questions. But you know, I learned a lot along the way, and I just drove around Boca because it was either Fort Lauderdale or Boca. I chose Boca, and I just drove around with one of my friends and looked for signs that said for lease. Found a great place where we're currently positioned, and called them. Put in an offer on the lease, and I went from there. And then it was a big. It's a process, right? The building out the place, finding an architect, funding the place. You asked how much it generally costs to open up a clinic like that. I would say minimum $400K, and that's I pulled a lot of favors for my friend Mark. He owns ProMark. He's a GC. He helped me out.
We had to build it from scratch. It was an empty bay.
Yeah, it was a shell. There was nothing in there. There was no power. There was no plumbing. And then with all the bottlenecks with COVID, everyone
Supply
uses
chain,
COVID as an
all that fun
excuse.
stuff.
It's tough.
And the hardest thing is employees. So, like, how many people are working at the location currently? And
we have
medical professionals, not even employees.
Yeah, so we have about 5 or 6 employees as well. But right now you would think right when COVID started, everyone's hungry for work. It's hard to find people. You set up accounts in Indeed. 80% of the people don't show up for interviews.
Yeah, they'll make an interview. They'll do a phone interview, and then they don't show up.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
It's crazy.
And as doctors, our salaries have not gone up since COVID hit, but everyone else, it seems like, is getting paid more. So the cost of supplies, the cost of retaining quality employees has went up tremendously. While you can't just everyone's pricing as well hasn't jumped like that because it's hard to say, hey, you get the service for this much. Sorry, we're charging you a premium.
So let me ask this question. So my background, I was a lawyer for about 8 years, and I always worked for law firms, and I was more entrepreneurial. I always thought about going on my own. Lawyers, it's really hard because when you work for a law firm, the relationship with the client is very much the law firm.
Right.
So it's hard to open up your own firm and sort of take clients with you. It sounds like, at least with you, like you had patients that you met, and through the hospital, I don't know, if you really created true patient relationships. So my guess is, you opened this new facility up, and you had no patients. So you're completely guessing here, a $400,000 guess, right? And so you open up your first day, and you just like stare at the door and hope someone walks through. How do you get your very first patients? Because I think that's, if I'm guessing, and there's professionals listening right now, that's the question is, how do I get my first patient? How do I end up getting the 10th and 20th patient? Because right now you're a machine probably, and you're getting a lot of people through the front door through a variety of marketing means. But that first couple patients has got to be the biggest challenge. So how'd you do that? Or am I describing it right? I mean, how does this take place?
No, it's a fair question, and that is the scary part. And I think for him, like he was saying, he was a little more, probably his first entrepreneurial venture into like having a retail location. And when you have a retail location, you don't want to stand out there just twiddling your thumbs waiting for people to come in.
Because you are in the retail business. You're two doctors in the retail business. That's
In a
the
retail
truth.
location paying retail rent.
That's right.
We're not in a medical building or something. So it's, we had a PR company that we worked for a few months. We went through a few different marketing companies. We were doing emails. We were doing social on our personal socials, on our other business socials. I sent out an email blast to my email list. We have friends that have businesses in the areas. So some of our friends were gracious enough to send out emails to their lists. I'm referring people over from the other practice, right? Or a lot of my patients maybe were driving down from Lake Worth or Boynton or Boca to come all the way down there. Now it's just more convenient for them to be there. So that helps, so that we know people in the area and grew up in the area. A lot of our friends are in Parkland, right? So that's only 10, 15 minutes from West Boca where we're at. So all that is part of it, and then a lot of it is actually pay-per-click, right? So we have a marketing company that goes to that, and the first marketing company that we hired totally hosed us, just even on the website. And I used to design websites and develop websites. I did that for 15 plus years. I have a digital media degree, and like we said, we interviewed about 20 different companies, and when we thought we had one that was great, it was 60 employees, huge company. It took them 4 months to literally build one page and a couple proofs to the website, which is unbelievable. Right, and they dropped the ball. They were supposed to be
templates out there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can buy a template for like $300.
Well,
I could have done it myself in a week. It was crazy.
Well, the gentleman that we spoke to, who was the closer, he was very.
Well, that's what
he was
happens. The
very
salesperson
bright.
at the ad agency is phenomenal, right? They got the best
Why they're
salespeople.
He was the yes man. Yes.
That's why they're the best.
But sort of going back, like so the answer is not only is it $400,000 to build out this office.
Yeah, that's
and
not even
probably
operational
the
Yeah,
equipment,
minimum.
We
yeah.
haven't even gotten into your marketing expense.
Marketing
right?
and
Or just
marketing and
monthly
op-
operations.
Yeah, as
So,
well as inventory.
Like how many patients did you have the first week? Do you remember?
0.
Right.
No, but that's not true. I think we had one or two.
Yeah,
We had
Oh,
the
yeah.
one that I
Well,
sent in, and then maybe one other one. Yeah.
that's true.
I feel like that's the part of the story.
It's scary.
that-
But what do we see now? I think I looked at the last list I looked at a couple weeks ago. We've already seen 175 plus patients in the last
Yeah,
couple months, and some of them have been in multiple times. Some have been in 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So
It's a scary process.
So what is your biggest customer acquisition tool? Is it digital media or is it the retail space? Because that's a battle that typical retail companies are struggling with.
good
right
question.
now.
We get almost no walk-ins, even though we're in a fantastic plaza with a lot of traffic. There's very few walk-ins.
Yes, but they probably drive by you every day, see the name, Google you, and call you.
correct?
And may not
Some.
even tell you. I don't
Some.
know if
We've
that's-
had a couple. We've had a couple, but overwhelmingly right now, the majority of the new business, if it's not from our personal referrals, is probably pay-per-click.
Would you say, sorry for hijacking this part, Jason.
And some SEO.
Right. Would you say that there's at least some, what's the word I'm looking for? There's some comfort in knowing that your spot is in retail. So when they come to you for the first time, like you were describing your first office, where
Right.
there's water coming underneath and
Yeah.
there were rats.
We
I
lost.
may be
We
adding the rats,
didn't
but-
have rats, but people
Mice,
did
mice, just
tell
mice.
other people that like, hey, we're not coming back there. We don't like it. It's not clean.
Right. And so when they come to your current place, which is in a nice retail location and obviously built out really nice, there is some comfort there.
He did a really good job. He designed the whole place. It is beautiful. It's gorgeous, and people walk in and they compliment it.
Yeah, and those are the things that are just always hard to quantify, is I guess
Yeah.
my point. Like you really never know what the true return on investment is on that stuff.
Yeah, I was very apprehensive about the funding that he was putting into the build out and why everything was so expensive. Even though we had a GC that was like best friends that was doing everything for us. But now when you look at the finished picture, it is comforting, and every single person that walks in is like, oh my God, this place is amazing. It is nice to have the retail location, especially where we're at, because we're right on the turnpike right there, and it's a very busy plaza. So it's one of the most heavily trafficked plazas in South Florida. So anytime you tell somebody, if they ask where you're at, we just say, hey, we're with Green Wise and Home Goods. Everybody knows where it is. We don't have to explain it. So it is convenient, and it definitely is helpful. Because, I've been in those places where, like, oh, you got to turn here, and then behind that building, and then pull in the back.
And I think there's some subconscious feel to the consumer or the patient, whatever, about like, well, how legit is this place? And why is it where
100%.
it is? Yeah.
100%. First impressions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of them are subconscious, is my point.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors. When we jump back, we're going to jump into our hot or not segment of the show. Awesome. Great job, guys.
Look, Google is smart, but owls are wiser. Instead of spending an hour sifting through ads and clickbait BS, get the answers you need from qualified experts immediately. What is OWL? Think a best-of edition of Google, Cameo, and Clubhouse, all rolled into one app. OWL is an app where you can get advice through secure, private, live voice calls, tailored specifically to your questions, and all in real time. Need marketing or PR advice? OWL it. App or software development? OWL it. Healthcare, investing, social media, grant writing, education? OWL it. Coming soon. OWL, one-on-one with sports legends, singers, actors, celebrities, and more in real time. That's super exciting. Who? OWL. That's OWWLL. 2 W's for twice as wise. 2 L's because you'll really love it. OWL. Connect. Learn. Grow. Now available for Apple or Android. Download OWL today on the App Store on your device.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. As a reminder, catch this entire episode if you're listening on audio at Shrimp Tank Boca on Facebook Live to check out the doctors in the Shrimp Tank, of course. So, guys, on this segment of the show, it's called Hot or Not. We're going to ask you a question and go in detail why it's hot or not based on your experience in your industry, okay? So, right now, we're seeing a big change with brands like Victoria's Secret, right? I get the brochure, and the angels aren't on the cover anymore, right? Now, they're trying, they're trying to really, put different people, different, body styles on the cover, to say that, hey, looking like this is okay. But you looking at that saying that's not okay, right? I know that you're like, that's not healthy. Your BMI is way too high. So hot or not what you see brands like Victoria's Secret doing?
Not.
So tell us why.
I think I mean, I want to echo what you had just said. I think it's hot for the average American because, like I said, 70% of Americans are overweight. But I don't think that BMI is healthy. So I would say not.
Target's doing it as well, and it's just to me, it's
there's a level
have
to
we
it.
gone too far?
Yeah,
that's
part of the problem. I mean, I don't think all the models need to look like they're starving, and I don't think we should be having young girls attain that. But if you're putting people that are obese or overweight, and that is the average American, that's not what we should be going for. So there needs to be a healthy medium.
I completely agree, and that not just for that world, but all industries, even business, right? When we're just gotten too soft on certain subjects, I feel like, and we've gotten away from the main thing, which is living in your field a healthy lifestyle, and eating
balance, moderation.
And, so I'm with you. I think it's crazy what some of these brands are doing out there.
I think the only hot or not question I have is for men who struggle losing weight and have like a double chin. Do you recommend that they grow a beard? Like, do you feel like that hides it well?
Are you personally talking about this?
No, this has always been a theory of mine. I've never heard a doctor actually recommend it, but I believe it's true. I don't know if you need a medical degree to validate that, though.
I grow the beard, but I don't have the chin yet. Hopefully never. So I'm not sure, Nadav.
I think hot, yes, for sure. The beard can definitely conceal a double chin.
Yeah, and my wife will not let me shave. Yeah. Full disclaimer.
Sorry, I'm not good at the hot or not.
I'm the only one without a beard in the room over here.
I'm
Boo.
Jason, that's the move.
I have to go
Next episode.
Next episode. Let's talk about hormone therapy. We haven't touched on that subject much. Hot or not?
Very hot.
Yes, hot for sure.
Why? I see all these med spas, all their brochures. That's almost what they're leading on, right? So explain, what that really means. Is it more for females, more for males, both?
Both, for sure. Hormones are the metabolic drivers of your body, and many times you're not going to be able to reach your goals without optimizing your hormones. As you age, your hormone levels decline. Therefore, optimizing them at a safe level is beneficial for people.
And part of it is the aging. Part of it is all these environmental toxins in our food, air, water. Part of it is the stress levels that we're going through, and part of it's the inactivity. Right, we're not out there working the fields anymore. Right, so sitting all day, your hormones are not functioning properly.
And explain the process. Like, what does hormone therapy really mean? Like the typical person says, "Okay, am I hooked up to a machine? What is happening?" Like everyone keeps saying hormone therapy, but no one explains it ever.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it depends, right? It depends if you're a male or a female. If you're a male, we're focusing on testosterone. If you're a female, we're focusing on other key hormones, testosterone as well, although that's off-label FDA use. And mostly estradiol and progesterone. We use bioidentical hormones, meaning they're identical to the actual hormones in your body.
So they're safer.
Yeah, they're safer. And hormones come in different flavors and different forms. So you can either, for example, testosterone. You can replace it via oral, transdermal with a patch, a cream. And intramuscular injections, and one of the methods I love is pellets. It's the size of a grain of rice, and it's inserted right under the skin superficially. So
And then the pellet lasts a few months, right?
3 to 4 months, correct. So that's kind of hormone replacement in a nutshell. That's testosterone. Like I said, for women, we focus on estradiol, which is estrogen. Your levels decrease substantially during menopause and after menopause, and also progesterone. So and those come in different forms as well.
So definitely high because energy, chronic fatigue is one of the main things you had mentioned earlier, right? With women, you got everything from the night sweats, men and women, brain fog, right? Mental clarity is a big thing. So the hormones are usually beneficial for these kinds of things. And you want to make sure you're using bioidentical hormones because they're a lot safer.
Yeah.
So a lot of men going to start slipping these in their wives' cocktails.
Well, yeah. So
Right? It has a big improvement on.
yeah. So
Libido,
libido,
yes,
and sex
men and
drive,
women.
right?
that's funny that you say that because my parents, for the longest time that I can remember, have been sleeping in separate rooms.
Too much information.
And I replaced both of their. I replaced hormones for my father and for my mother, and now it's.
Now you have a new little brother.
It's quite different. Yeah. They're going on dates again. My mom the other day, I was FaceTiming with her, and she's like, "I think you give your dad a little too much testosterone. It's hard to keep up." So, when I did training a while back, they always said if you're going to replace someone's testosterone, make sure you're replacing their spouses because they'll come knocking on your door soon enough.
Huh, well, that's a good point. If one person does it, they're in trouble, right?
For
Like,
sure.
If just the male does it,
Yeah.
you're going to have problems if the other one doesn't have a sex drive like that.
So let me ask you a question. So I'm in, I sell neckwear, okay? But we also make underwear, but not a lot of people buy it. I happen to think our underwear is phenomenal, okay? So my question to you is, you do a lot of different products. I'm looking at functional medicine, acupuncture. We really focused on weight loss, hormone therapy. What's the one thing that you guys do really well, but for some reason that part of your business hasn't taken off?
Let me chime in on that. I would say the aesthetic side. It is super competitive. There's an abundance of aesthetic practices out there.
What is aesthetic?
Focusing on Botox, fillers,
Microneedling with PRP.
Yeah, lasers, skin resurfacing with machines.
Pigmentation, spider veins. We do all that kind of stuff.
You see it everywhere, and because it's so competitive, the prices have really been diluted. The quality's been diluted, and everyone always has. I have a girl. I have someone I go to, and it's tough. And with that being said, also the inventory, the overhead on that is substantial. It's pretty pricey.
Big investment to get into that.
Yeah, so that part of our business
it's busy, but we'd like to see it grow faster.
But it's something that you guys do really well, is what I'm saying.
100%.
It's sort of like the secret that nobody yet knows about.
Correct. It's just it's very competitive, and from the ground up, it's probably the hardest service to build.
It's one of the things that makes our practice unique because we do real medicine. It's not just a med spa. I mean, we have actual doctors in there. We're taking care of, like I said, chronic diseases, autoimmune stuff, real health issues, hormones. But then we also have this component where we have some very high-tech equipment and very high-end services that do that kind of stuff specifically for fine lines and wrinkles, texture of the face, acne scarring, all that kind of stuff.
So what makes your service better? Because I think of it as a commoditized service. Like what are you guys actually doing? Okay, you're both doctors, but there must be something different that sets you apart from everyone else.
Myself and my brother, I could speak of us two, and as well as our physician assistant who handles the aesthetic side. I think the quality of the care and how much time we spend with the patients.
Yeah, it's not just a factory.
And our passion to actually help people and not just charge people. I had a patient yesterday come from. She was actually a patient of Jonathan's first for acupuncture and functional medicine. She was going to a clinic for hormone optimization, peptide therapy, and weight loss in Fort Lauderdale, and she was prescribed a bunch of medications 3 weeks ago, charged $1,500 with no explanation, and she came to us yesterday, and I took an hour, free consultation, an hour just to spend with her and go over her goals and her regimen, and she was, impressed. And, spending time with patients and not just, squeezing a patient in every 15
we talked
minutes,
about earlier.
every 15 minutes and giving them that quality care and really coming up with a comprehensive, individualized plan is, in my eyes, the most important thing when opening up a medical clinic. And then on top of that, just the passion. My brother, he trained in China. He goes, he does just continuously learning and mastering your craft, and that's pretty much what we pride ourselves
To
in.
answer that on top of it, a lot of these places you go to and they don't have doctors. You're going to see an MP, and it's not even a doctor that owns the place. It's just a business guy that's like, oh, I heard this is a great business, and it's all right, bottom line, not patient care, which is kind of what we've been trying to avoid. That's what he's dealt with at the hospital, and we're the complete opposite of that. We want everybody to feel like it's family and everybody to feel like they have their time to be heard and their goals are being addressed to, all their concerns.
Is that a big part of your marketing message?
Yes, definitely.
We're doctors. We're not
Correct. Yeah.
business people.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Kind of a nice business message.
Yeah, you see a lot of these places that are franchises, and
Right.
They create a template, right? And you buy into that, and
Very
then they
cookie
hire
cutter.
people to execute it. And
nobody's
if
invested.
if I'm having someone place a hormone pellet in me, or I'm having them prescribe me a medication that could potentially be harmful. I want that person to be educated and trained and have a good background in that, and that's what I think distinguishes us. And there's other practices like that, but the majority of places that you see are places that are just staffed for people to execute, and they're not seeing, there's medical directors on the periphery, and they're just looking at charts but not actually speaking to the patient.
They might never even step foot in the facility. The medical director might not, may or may not even be a real person to some extent.
And there's a general rule of thumb when you're going through medicine and you're learning medicine in medical school is 80% of your diagnosis comes through history. And if you're not in front of that person and taking the time to speak to them, you're not going to capture that history,
You miss
and
a lot.
ultimately you're not going to help them out as efficiently as someone that does.
So quality.
And what's the age group that you typically see, coming in the most? Is it the 30 to 40, the 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 70, 80?
It ranges depending on the condition. I mean, with the acupuncture and the functional stuff, we'll do even pediatrics, but the average age group is probably late 30s to 50s and 60s. It's pretty wide range because like some of the aesthetic stuff and the hormones is going to be more women 50s and 60s. Sure. And then with some of the other things, 30s, 40s. So I'd say probably, late 30s to early 50s is the most of the patients.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors. When we get back, jump to our Plead the Fifth segment of the show.
Step into our state-of-the-art innovation lab and create your digital future. Oz uses cutting-edge technology and 22 years of industry knowledge to enhance customer experience through digital innovation in a variety of expertise. Oz is a leading global consulting company whose services and solutions are trusted by startup, midsize, and even Fortune 500 companies. Get to know more about Oz's Salus, a mobile solution bringing us back to max capacity, and their latest solution, Rainmaker, saving insurance companies years of work. To learn more about Oz and their exciting technologies, visit followoz.com. That's FOLLOWOZ.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. As a reminder, catch all these episodes on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. Check out photos of every single episode. Of course, reach out to all of our past guests. They're all on Instagram and LinkedIn. And whenever they get a message that says, hey, I heard your episode on the Shrimp Tank, we see pretty much 99% of the time they will be willing to help their individual out. So if you're starting a business, ask for help. The best way, to get where you're going, of course, is from other people that have been there. So, guys, on this segment of the show, it's called Plead the Fifth. You can only plead the fifth one time. If you plead the fifth two times, Greg over there gets free sessions for a month on anything he requests. Is that a deal? Is that a deal?
Deal.
Okay, they said deal, Greg. We got to get them.
Awesome.
Okay, so Jonathan, I'll start with you. What is the biggest pet peeve of working with your brother?
It's a good question. I think we work well together. I think at the beginning, like I said, I think he wanted to have this specific look for Boca and the aesthetic look, and I think it seemed like that what we were spending almost didn't seem justifiable or returnable as far as the initial investment and some of the overhead on employees and what we're paying some people and I guess mostly financial aspects.
Okay.
Right, stuff
He
like
didn't
that.
plead the fifth. That wasn't too harsh. I'll let you get him back. What's the biggest pet peeve about John?
100% pleading the fifth on this one.
Oh,
There we go.
he didn't
Yeah,
want
I'm probably
to-
I'm annoying.
Okay, we got one, Greg. You're up. Your turn again.
Have you ever had an anti-aging patient walk in with the collagen lips and the filler? I mean, this is Boca, sorry. The filler, the Botox, everything. Look at her or him, but we know it's her, and say, "Sorry, you've had enough. You don't need any more. Please leave."
That's a good one.
No, we have not. You do encounter those patients. We try to accentuate people's natural beauty. However, sometimes people are a bit excessive, but we have not turned them away. Our physician assistant has worked with them to facilitate their goals. However, that's not the look.
We try to
like.
discourage that.
Yeah. So the answer is no. We haven't turned them away.
Right.
But it does. You do encounter that a lot in the aesthetic space.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen a spouse complain to you that you give their husband too much testosterone, and they just won't shut up about asking for something, right?
Not complain. Typically, it's a good thing, and then we optimize their hormone levels as well.
Okay, I'm sure it will come in the future. Right?
Yeah,
What did you give to my
definitely.
husband? He won't stop. Knocks on my door every hour. Greg, you got one to get him to plead the
Well,
fifth?
I guess kind of along those lines. Anyone ever walk in and you look at them and you're like, we can't do what you want us to do. They have sort of unrealistic expectations on how pretty you're going to make them, and you have to turn them away.
Yes, I think so. And sometimes you get the feeling they're going to be more trouble than is worth. And if it's unrealistic and they're not, and if you're trying to explain something and they're not listening and they keep repeating the same thing over and over, that could turn into something you don't want to deal with.
Yeah, we have expensive machines, resurfacing machines that help skin tightening and remodeling. At times, people will come in with those unrealistic expectations, and we say, sorry, this machine can only do so much. You need to see a plastic surgeon.
Right.
So
They want plastic surgery results
Right.
with all natural
Correct.
treatments.
so yeah.
Okay, they're an open book over here, but I think I got one from earlier in the episode. Earlier you mentioned you wasted a lot of money building a website, hired the wrong companies. What was the name of that company that built that website?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Plead the fifth.
Okay, we got each of them.
Yeah,
Greg,
plead the fifth.
we're so close. We just got to get one of them to say plead the fifth again, and you get free service for a month.
That's a good one.
That was a disaster.
I feel like something around the
As a
month-
business
feel like
owner,
something
I
our-
don't want to put somebody else on blast like that, but
I think something around their mother and father we get them on.
We were outsourced.
There was a lot of talk on that conversation.
Oh, I don't want to go there. But I will say one thing real quick. I'm part of a group that of e-commerce owners, like over 1,000 of us. We all share stories. And one of the things we do is we share good and bad stories of agencies that we've worked with. And just know that it's a big, powerful group. And just know that whoever screwed you over very well could be in that type of group has listed. And I guess the point is, hopefully they'll get theirs. So hopefully they'll.
I'm sure. I mean, they lost an account that was going to be paying them a lot on a monthly basis, and they couldn't even complete the most basic single thing. So that they lost a whole contract that could have gone on for years.
Well, it's nice of you to not say their name because there are a lot of people who would share their name. I would be one of them because they screwed you over, and you've done nothing wrong by sharing their name, but you don't have to.
What's the worst piece of advice from a mentor you received while going through this process? Right, I know you talked to a lot of people about building out, this spot, right? And someone sticks out that they told you, they led you the wrong direction, and it was messed up.
You want to answer that? Or?
No, I want you to answer it.
Yeah, I think I've spoken to a couple individuals in the past, and they had mentioned that just pretty much what we touched on it earlier with social media. Spend a lot of marketing dollars on social media, and the business will come and flow in, and just open the doors, and it's that easy. It's opening a business and starting from the ground up is not easy, and I have not found that social media is that advantageous or that.
It's not that quick to really
Quick,
jump you
right.
off.
Yeah.
So who was the mentor? Who was the mentor that said that? By the way, what was their names?
Wow.
Yeah.
Orpley the fifth, and Greg is the winner. Greg, I'm doing this for you, man. I'm doing this for you.
So grateful.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh, you're gonna let him slide. You're gonna, okay.
I do want to ask a question about social media. You guys all talked about it a little bit earlier, which is your personal social media. So for those who don't know, the algorithms of Facebook and Instagram and really all of them, when you set up a business account, they purposely limit your exposure to people who follow you and everyone else because they want you to pay
Yeah,
for
to about 1 or 2%.
That's correct. I've heard a little higher, but generally speaking, that is correct. Meaning that if 10,000 people follow you and you post something, 100 of your followers see it, which seems absurd, but that's the case. Okay. So the way to get around that a little bit is to put it on your personal page because the algorithm treats you differently when you're just a person. They figure you're not selling something. However, there is a delicate balance of I friended you on Facebook because we're friends, right? We went to high school together, we drink beer together, and now you're inundating me every day with your business life.
And he just started, and he's guilty of that now.
Okay, well, see, like I have real estate broker friends, and they do it constantly, right? So, like
it's annoying.
It's a great strategy, but to put it on your personal. However,
You got to sprinkle it in.
that's right. You got to sprinkle it in. So I guess I'm not so much a question as I am preaching that if you're going to be one of these people, you have to put your listen up. I'm just kidding. No, you have to put
Craig.
a picture of your little kid on Tuesday, and Thursday you could talk about anti-aging. On Saturday, I want to see what kind of a cappuccino with a leaf in it. And then on Sunday, you can talk about
Balance.
sexual wellness.
Right.
Yes.
If you're spamming all your personal friends, they're not going to want to look at your crap. They're
Right.
going to.
And they will be
hide you.
rooting for you too, because I will tell you this: friends of yours who are friends first are definitely rooting for you in the beginning. But when your personal becomes completely business, they stop rooting for you. I don't know why. We're terrible people, but that's what happens. So I'm sorry to lecture, but
it also
It's
is
true.
first-time
That's a good
business
point.
owners.
Very good point, and that's great advice for people listening.
A lot of first-time business owners just like they switch, verticals, and all of a sudden they're posting on LinkedIn and out of the blue, and it's all solicitation, and that's what it comes down to. They're not leading with something of value. There's like, buy my services, buy this,
Also
buy that.
that,
And
that's a
everyone
good
else
point.
is like, we're not going to switch overnight and just start, buying everything you have. And I think that's where the disconnect comes, where eventually they learn how to market properly, which is lead with value. Like write a passage about a story that came into the spa, right? And you are so, you want to get that story out to the world because others can be impacted, not by, hormone
Great point.
therapy treatment. It should actually be your
What
parents'
I do is
story.
I post a lot of testimonials.
Yeah.
So people see that and they're like, I have that same problem, and they help that person. Maybe they could help me. But once again, I make sure to post my family stuff, my friend stuff. It's still social media. It's not
That's
just
right.
spam media.
But even LinkedIn, I think you have to be careful on how much you sell also. I think LinkedIn, there's a proper mix of sharing an interesting article, sharing a perspective, sharing maybe an appearance on a podcast, and then pushing your company and just continuing to alternate it. Because all of this personal social media thing is not a quick, as you guys know, it's not a quick sale. I think it's the better path to getting the sale eventually than just to keep talking about your own company. Again, LinkedIn is business, so it's sort of more acceptable than Facebook. But even there, I think people sort of, if all you do is post about your business success or your sale or whatever, they start to tune you out. And the more they tune you out, by the way, then the LinkedIn algorithm starts to realize that no one's interested in your posts, and it gets limited exposure.
I completely agree. Well, guys, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank
Pleasure. It was
today.
fun.
For everyone listening, can you once again say the locations if they want to come visit? Also, what's the best route to go right to the website? If they want to reach out with you guys, best place Instagram, LinkedIn.
So yeah, Instagram and Facebook is probably the best places to find us at, or the website, which is cr8health.com or at cr8health.
And that's the number 8.
Correct.
Is it pronounced crate or create?
Create, like we're creating health, and we get a lot of people asking that. It's actually a topic of conversation, which is one of the reasons.
Yeah, actually, I that should have been my answer. I thought we should have added an E in there, and he disagreed.
I didn't. And there's companies that do both. If you look at other examples, there's some people add the E, some people don't. But it's fun because it's a talking point. It gets people asking questions. What is CR8? And we're like cytokine response 8 number. No.
Right. Well, thanks again for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank today. For everyone listening, we'll be back next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Take care.
Hey, thank you so much, guys.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank, doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real. This life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the